The Galactic Council chamber fell silent, as Ambassador HFY's translator crackled with the human representative's words. Around the circular assembly, representatives from 47 species shifted uncomfortably in their specialized seating arrangements. The air recyclers hummed nervously, as if even the station systems could sense the tension. "Repeat that," Captain Sarah Chen said, her voice dangerously quiet. She stood perfectly still at the human delegation's podium, her hands clasped behind her back in a pose that every species present had learned to recognize as a precursor to violence. HFY's mandibles clicked in what his species considered amusement. The Zephyrian's chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's artificial lighting as he leaned forward. "I said, human, that your spawn are weak, fragile. Perhaps if one were to accidentally encounter harm during our mining operations on Kepler 442b, your species might finally understand the futility of your territorial claims." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the station's background hum seemed to pause. Chen's expression didn't change, but every alien in the chamber noticed the subtle shift in her posture. Those who had served alongside humans in the frontier wars recognized the signs immediately. The Altarian delegate actually began reaching for his emergency beacon. "Captain," whispered Dr. Yuki Tanaka from behind Chen, her voice barely audible through the translator. "The children on Kepler 442b. There are 300 families in the agricultural settlement." Chen nodded once, never taking her eyes off HFY. "I heard him perfectly, Dr. Tanaka." The Zephyrian delegation had clearly done their research, but not well enough. They knew humans were protective of their young. Most species were. What they failed to understand was the fundamental difference between protection and the thing that humans called wrath. "Ambassador HFY," Chen Xiu said, her tone conversational now, "I want to make sure I understand your position correctly. You're suggesting that harm might come to human children, ages ranging from 6 months to 16 years, if we don't withdraw our claim to the mineral rights on Kepler 442b. "I am stating facts," HFY replied, his confidence unshaken. "Accidents happen in dangerous mining operations. Your primitive offspring should not be in such hazardous areas." The mistake was assuming that humans responded to threats with fear. Chen smiled. Every species that had previously encountered that particular human expression immediately activated their emergency protocols. The Altarian delegate's beacon was already flashing. 3 representatives quietly began backing toward the exits. "Dr. Tanaka," Chen said without turning around, "please send a priority message to Admiral Morrison. Authorization code Broken Arrow 7. Even the Zephyrians knew that code. Every species in the galaxy did. It was the human signal for all constraints removed. "Captain?" The elderly Melody representative creaked from his translator. "Surely, you're not considering—" "I'm not considering anything," Chen interrupted gently. "I'm past consideration. We're now in the realm of inevitability." HFY's confidence finally wavered. "You would risk galactic war over a mining dispute?" Chen's smile widened. "Oh, Ambassador, you misunderstand completely. This stopped being about mining the moment you mentioned human children." She finally turned to address the full assembly. "You see, my fellow representatives, there's something about human psychology that apparently didn't make it into your species briefings." She gestured to the massive holographic display in the chamber's center. It flickered to life, showing a star map of human space. Red dots began appearing across dozens of systems. "These represent our current military assets: 47 full battle fleets, 312 rapid response squadrons, and approximately 2,000 independent vessels operated by what we call concerned citizens." The dots were multiplying faster than the assembly could count. "All of these assets," Chen continued, "are currently receiving the same message Dr. Tanaka just sent. Would you like to know what it says?" The chamber was so quiet that the translator feedback seemed deafening. "Human children threatened by Zephyrian aggression. All units converge on Kepler 442b. Rules of engagement, whatever it takes." HFY's exoskeleton had turned a pale gray. This is madness. You cannot mobilize your entire military over a hypothetical threat. Chen laughed, and the sound made several representatives flinch. Ambassador, you threatened human children. There's nothing hypothetical about our response. Even now, ships are breaking from patrol routes, merchant captains are arming their vessels, and retired military personnel are climbing back into cockpits. The holographic display updated in real time. The red dots were moving, all converging, on a single point. But Captain, the Melody representative tried again. Surely your government will need time to authorize such an extreme response? Authorization? Chen looked genuinely puzzled. Ambassador, you clearly don't understand human nature. When someone threatens our children, authorization isn't required. It's automatic, primal, inevitable. She tapped her communicator. Dr. Tanaka, what's our current response count? 17,000 vessels and climbing, Captain. Admiral Morrison reports that voluntary enlistment centers are experiencing lines around the block. The lunar shipyards are activating reserve construction bays. Chen nodded as if this was perfectly normal. Estimated time to full deployment? 72 hours for overwhelming force positioning. Admiral Morrison wanted me to tell you that the first wave will arrive at Kepler 442b in 18 hours, whether or not our children are actually threatened. The Zephyrian delegation was frantically consulting among themselves. Kethvar's translator struggled with their rapid, panicked clicking. Perhaps, Kethvar finally managed, there has been a misunderstanding. The Zephyrian collective has no actual intention of harming human offspring. It was merely a negotiation tactic. Chen's expression didn't change. Dr. Tanaka, please record Ambassador Kethvar's statement for our archives. Also, please note that the ambassador has just admitted to making threats against human children as a negotiation tactic. Recorded, Captain. Now then, Chen continued, about that retraction. I'm afraid misunderstanding isn't quite sufficient. The Zephyrian Collective will formally apologize to every human family on Kepler 442b, publicly renounce any claim to our system, and provide reparations for the trauma caused by threatening our children. Trauma? Kethvar sputtered. But nothing actually happened. Chen's smile returned, colder than before. Ambassador, you threatened human children. In our culture, that's not something you walk back with an apology. That's something you spend generations making amends for. The display updated again. The fleet convergence was ahead of schedule. Of course, Chen added thoughtfully. The alternative is that 17,000 human vessels, operated by extremely motivated humans, who've just learned that someone threatened human children, arrive in your space looking for satisfaction. I'm told that the volunteers include several retired Marine units who specifically requested boarding action assignments. The chamber erupted in frantic diplomatic chatter as species representatives tried to mediate, but Chen raised her hand for silence. The Galactic Council will now vote on Resolution 2847, formal censure of the Zephyrian Collective for threatening non-combatant human children and recognition of humanity's right to proportional response. 46 hands, claws, tentacles, and appendages rose in unanimous agreement. Kethvar sat alone in his delegation's section, his gray exoskeleton now trembling. Motion carries, Chen announced. Ambassador Kethvar, you have 6 hours to begin your apologies before the first human ships arrive in your territory. I suggest you make them convincing. As the chamber emptied, the Melody representative approached Chen. Captain, was all of this really necessary for a verbal threat? Chen looked at him with genuine surprise. Ambassador, he threatened human children. This wasn't necessary, this was inevitable. There's a difference. And if he had actually harmed them? Chen's smile disappeared entirely. Then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be having a memorial service. The ancient Melody shuddered and shuffled away, making a mental note to update his species' cultural files on humans. Specifically, the section labeled, Never Threaten Their Young, Ever. In the distance, space began to shimmer as the first human vessels dropped out of hyperspace right on schedule.